Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Now, up next, kicking off our second Cannabis Culture segment brought to us by HighThere, we're going to be covering the latest in cannabis edutainment. And one of HighThere's focus is on the development of the platform and HighThere app, where you're going to find a cannabis-friendly social network. And today I have the pleasure of chatting with HighThere's editor-in-chief, Jaime Solis, a fellow millennial mom, proud cannabis enthusiast, and a beautiful soul. Jaime is coming on to chat cannabis and some help me pave the way even further for the century-old plant, as we need to educate the masses on its uses, clarify the misconceptions, and debunk the myths. Jaime is a perfect advocate for HighThere with a personal appreciation for cannabis and an unwavering passion for advocacy. Together, she and I are aiming to change the mainstream perspective around medical and recreational cannabis. She is formerly editor-in-chief of Culture and High Times magazine. She departed her role at High Times this February to be the editor-in-chief at HighThere, as well as serve on the executive team. Now, as she gets settled into the broadcast room, let's chat. As of this April, 37 states have legalized the medical use of cannabis. In addition, the District of Columbia and the territories of Puerto Rico, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, and the U.S. Virgin Islands have all legalized medical marijuana. Basically, 3/4 of U.S. states have legal marijuana at this point. The recreational market alone hit nearly 15 billion in 2021 and is on target to surpass 40 billion by 2025. Furthermore, the House passed the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act, which eliminates federal criminal penalties for cannabis and requires courts to expunge convictions of non-violent marijuana offenders. But what does federal law say about marijuana? Well, under the Controlled Substances Act of 1970, the Drug Enforcement Agency still clarifies cannabis as a Schedule I drug with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. And by the way, other Schedule I drugs include heroin and LSD. So firstly, we need to rewrite this narrative. Otherwise, almost half of America will be deemed as drug addicts, as hundreds of millions of Americans live in states that have legalized cannabis in some form, while it does still remain illegal at the federal level. And this discrepancy breeds confusion and uncertainty and raises questions in areas from small business growth to public safety. And here to chat some more is Jaime Solis. Welcome to the show, Stunner.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Okay, let's just dive right into it. What led you to join the cannabis industry initially, and why did you leave High Times to join HighThere?
Well, I first joined the cannabis industry by accident. It was a happy accident. So I was a recreational consumer through college, and I live in California. And so I was always under the impression as a young adult that medical cannabis was a facade, that people had medical cannabis cards because they wanted to get legal weed. I had friends that had cards. We'd go to LA, we'd get edibles. It was great. But I started an internship at a local weekly paper. And lo and behold, they were also publishing a national cannabis magazine called Culture Magazine. And I heard a story about a young boy named Jaden, and his dad was giving him CBD oil. He was the first boy to, or the first child to be administered medical cannabis CBD oil on national news. And after hearing the story of Jaden and his dad, Jason, I realized that medical cannabis was in fact, a huge opportunity for people to find healing without dangerous pharmaceutical drugs. And being a mom now, I can't imagine having to give my kid pharmaceutical medications if there was an option that could actually cure their seizures. And so that's how I got into the cannabis community, and that's what's kept me there for so long.
I love that you're bringing up the medical side of it, because just in late March, the Senate unanimously approved the Cannabidiol and Marijuana Research Expansion Act, which would streamline the application process for researchers who want to study the medicinal value of cannabis and related products. And this important legislation will cut the red tape around the research process, helping get FDA approved marijuana derived medications safely to patients. And that is extremely critical. So I love your advocacy for that. Now, let's jump into something a little bit more mainstream as we tackle a lot of these stigmas. Let's talk about the data and help set the record straight about this data that's just come in about who cannabis consumers actually are. Now, a study of 5,000 adult cannabis consumers in the US and Canada revealed that today's consumers, is the majority of whom we found are women, are successful, highly educated, and health conscious, which is quite the opposite of traditional stereotypes people often hear about. What do you say to this, Jaime?
I would say that's definitely my experience in the industry. 10 years ago, I was delivering magazines to dispensaries, and it was people that would look like your grandma coming up to me and saying, "This changed my life. This saves my life. Can I get a magazine?" I think with HighThere, a big part of our demographic is women like you or I, right? Or our moms. Cannabis helps women with so many different conditions, from endometriosis to just menstrual cramping. And there's a lot of products that are geared toward us. And so a big thing at HighThere, what we're doing is we are changing the stigma of that a cannabis consumer is a lazy stoner male who's in his 20s. A lot of the cannabis consumers that I personally know are women that are using it to treat their fibromyalgia, right? So yeah, I'm not surprised by the data, because I've lived it and I've seen it so long, but I'm happy that now there are the numbers to back it up and prove it to be true.
Yes. Yeah, we've come a long way, and the industry leaders who realize and embrace who the modern cannabis consumers are will be in strong position for further growth, because companies have to play a more active role in empowering, these college educated, health conscious consumers to find the cannabis experience that's right for them, especially as more consumers view cannabis as an integral part of their health and wellness routine. And essentially what we were really looking for is richer product descriptions like terpene and cannabinoid profiles to become, more of the consumer expectation. Like, that's what consumers are looking at. And as such, cannabis businesses can and should take the steps to enable consumers to look past simply buying the product with the highest THC percentage, or buying solely on basic descriptors. So if you're going to use responsibly and be educated, and that's what the HighThere platform does, and all of these really proprietary models that you've incorporated in different, sections of that website that really highlight the medical research is really eye-opening.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're lucky enough at HighThere that we do have a team of medical professionals who can vouch for the content that we're putting out. And it's the medical side of it is very important, but I also think, the recreational side is important as well. In America, we have this wine mom culture, right? That, my kids are driving me crazy, I'm going to have a glass of wine and that's okay. Well, if cannabis is a safer alternative, we have to normalize that. And we have to let people know that, just the medical side of it is, for me, what drives me here. But I also think the recreational side is just as important. We just put out a story at HighThere about how there are less foster placements in states that have recreational cannabis. And this is because not only are people using safer alternatives than, drugs and alcohol, and like hard drugs, not cannabis, but like drugs and alcohol, but also it's people aren't getting their kids taken away for using cannabis in these places. And so really it's a family model to have safe access to cannabis on so many different levels.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And even with legal sales hitting 24 billion and legalization spreading like wildflower, essentially cannabis dispensaries are hamstrung by outdated regulations at this point, as they really strive to provide safe and compliant and modern shopping experiences for their consumer. And while federal legislation is unlikely to pass in 2022, I believe that we're going to see multiple states that have been holding out to take the step towards legalization. And this means that we'll move even closer to a more normal shopping experience with the adoption of more modern point of sale hardware that really facilitates a more fluid and trustworthy checkout experience. What are your thoughts on this, and where do you think the industry is headed?
I think for probably the last decade, the industry has definitely been headed toward selling cannabis more for your user experience, right? So there are a lot of companies that, instead of saying, hey, this is 28% THC, it's going to get you super high, they're saying this is our relax offering. This is the one if you want energy. This is our creative offering. And so I think, it's definitely a more modern shopping experience already, but that's also coming from someone who lives in California. A lot of these states that, like Oklahoma, for example, we call them the new Wild West of cannabis because they're starting out with a medical model that is developing, where California was developing in 1996. And so I think on a national level, we won't see it across the board everywhere immediately, but I do think we're definitely headed toward more, a more just you're going into a store and you're buying cannabis like you would buy wine.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I think people in the consumption and where we're headed as an industry and even as society as a whole, I mean, it's very telling. There is a proposed Senate bill to legalize marijuana in the works, and it's the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act, and it's a separate marijuana legislation bill being drafted in the Senate, and it would end the federal ban on cannabis and give state compliant cannabis businesses access to these financial services like bank accounts, business loans, and credit card transactions. And providing, modern payment solutions is really one of the biggest remaining barriers to normalizing the cannabis experience, especially the shopping experience. And to your point, consumers are ready. Consumers are already, taking advantage of convenient options for the curbside pickups and pay ahead services that were uncommon, before the pandemic. And adding these purchasing options is, in my opinion, going to grow more important to dispensaries' bottom lines, within the next year. But we're seeing a shift in the industry. And when you have a platform like HighThere congregating the cannabis enthusiasts backed by a very medical, aggressive, essentially medical community, I think it's a great path into where we are headed. And it's a great platform to be a part of. It's phenomenal, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about HighThere is, we are a media company. We do put out content, but we're also a community. So in our app, we have a safe community that whether you're cannabis curious and you just want to learn about cannabis and find like-minded people, there's a spot for you. And if you're an expert grower, there's a spot for you there too. So we're really like an all-inclusive community on our app. And obviously I recommend everyone to go and download it and join our community because it's a safe place. We have strict guidelines, and yeah, I think there isn't an app out there like HighThere where you will find like-minded people, whether you're a beginner or you are a seasoned consumer. So
yeah, without a doubt. And now as we enter this era of demystifying the stigma in this emerging and very disruptive industry, a lot of these vice industries kind of took a life of their own during the pandemic when everybody was kind of like hoarding alcohol and trying to use as much as they can, to numb or to control their emotional issues that a lot of us were facing. But I think what we've come out 2 years after this pandemic is we've seen that cannabis and the health benefits that the plant itself, the age-old plant itself provides, from a medical level to a mental health level to a laundry list of other issues, the laundry list of other cures, so to speak. We're really headed in the right direction, Jamie. And it was amazing talking with you. You're full of knowledge, and I can't wait to have more of these interviews.
No, I look forward to it. And thanks for having me.
Without a doubt. Listen, guys, you definitely have to check out the HighThere app. Go directly on their website, HighThere.com, or on the gram at HighThere app, and check out Jamie. She also happens to be on the gram. She's a very cool, active millennial mom and a cannabis enthusiast. You can find her at Jaime Solis. That was our Cannabis Culture segment brought to us by HighThere. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.